Bienvenidos al club. Aquí estamos de nuevo. Os dijimos que hoy, miércoles, tendríamos doble entrega de NBAdictos. A mediodía hicimos la previa del cuarto partido de las finales entre los Bucks y los Suns. Y hoy tenemos a una invitada muy especial. Y es que hoy tenemos con nosotros ni más ni menos que a Imman Adan de Business and Dimes. Ya sabéis que os doy mucho la brasa con ese podcast, tenéis que escucharlo. Y de Basketballnews. Aquí comienza el capítulo 338 de NBAdictos. Y ya sabéis que cuando hacemos entrevistas en inglés, primero grabamos en inglés. Así que vamos a dar la bienvenida a Imman Adan. Imman, good afternoon. Thank you to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Ya sabéis, vamos a hacer la entrevista primero en inglés. Mañana, espero que mañana, la traduciré, la doblaré y la tendréis doblada al castellano. Así que ahora nos vamos a pasar al inglés. Cualquier pregunta que le queráis hacer a Imman, ya sabéis, en el chat, yo se las iré pasando. Imman, thank you for being here. You are one of my reference in NBA. I love your podcast with all your partners, Dishes and Dimes. I always say that it's very important to have a point of view from outside of the US first, from the Canadian point of view, but also a female and a black woman is very important because we are used to listen always the white men point of view. I want to have you here because there are too many things in the last months. Among all the things that we have from all the history, but first the George Floyd murder, all the Black Lives Matter protests, and also the hiring of Jason Kidd, the hiring of Chauncey Billups, and top of all, the Rachel Nichols controversy. I normally said that it's impossible for me as a white heterosexual European white man to understand what is to be a woman, for example, and being afraid going home at night, have to text your friend to say I'm okay, everything is okay, to be afraid to be on a Uber or on a cab and seeing a driver that you seem weirdo, and I can understand also what is to be a black man or a black woman and being afraid of getting killed just for something of traffic or something. So I think that the only thing I can do is to give you voice and listen to you. So that's the why I want to have you here in our show.
Thank you. I want to start off first by saying like your jersey. I love it. Toronto Raptors jersey. Vince Carter. I love it.
Yes, NBA jersey of all time.
I agree. But no, you're exactly right. And we do basketball podcasts, and a lot of the time people say, focus on basketball. Why are you talking about these issues that pertain to women or Black people? And the fact of the matter is, basketball includes women and it includes Black people. So these are stories that all of us face, right? Like there are NBA players that have dealt with Thabo Sefolosha broke his leg and missed an entire year of basketball because a police officer injured him because of racial profiling. So these are issues that affect the players. They're issues that affect Becky Hammon, coaches, women not getting the same opportunities. So thank you for having these discussions. I think it's important that we have these discussions because they don't exist outside of basketball. They also exist in basketball and they affect the game as well.
We cannot separate basketball, NBA from life, and
Exactly.
life is politics and is everything. And there, in some things, there is no gray. Or either you are racist or you are not racist. Either you are fascist or you are Antifa. Either you are sexism or not. For me, is simple, and we have to have it here. Um, mm, where do you want to start? We have a lot to speak about. You mentioned Becky Hammon and her handicap to be hired as a head coach in the NBA. We have two different cases, but for the matter is similar. Jason Kidd, who has been condemned for um, beating his wife, and also Chauncey Billups from a rape that occurred in 1997, and in, no matter the protest of the people from Portland, the Blazers hire him. And in the case of the Blazers, they interview Becky Hammon. And I was reading a piece, I don't remember who wrote it, that said that it's like some enterprises do pink washing with LGTB and on the pride and all that stuff. And it's like interviewing Becky Hammon is like washing. Okay, I interview her, so now I can hire the one I wanted to hire in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. And especially because they knew that they were going to get backlash for hiring Chauncey Billups. They knew that it wouldn't look good. I don't think they expected it to be as much as it was. So I'm glad it was this big because I think they thought, yeah, people are going to be upset, but I don't think they thought it would be this much. But I think that that's why they interviewed Becky Hammond, right? They wanted to say, no, look, we're giving women a chance. But in reality, are they? They knew they wanted Chauncey Billups, and they got him. And since hiring him, we found out that even though they told us that they did an investigation, that is not actually the case, right? As been reported by the Oregon, I want to say it's Oregon Public Broadcasting is the one that reported the story that they didn't actually do a thorough investigation because they didn't even reach out to the accuser. They didn't reach out to the accuser's lawyer. They didn't reach out to the defense attorney. They didn't reach out, or to the state prosecutor, I should say. They didn't reach out to anyone. So they didn't do an investigation. They just hired him because they wanted to. But to us, to the public, they're lying to us and they're using women and they're saying a bunch of things to make us happy when in reality it just wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm. It was an investigation that it's almost like, Chauncey, did you did it? And
Exactly.
because they say that in the press conference, they said, "Okay, we did an investigation. You have to trust us."
Exactly.
And
And I'm
also,
glad they didn't trust them because when reporters started digging, they found out no investigation was had.
mhm. And also when Chauncey Billups was asked about all this in this matter, Ashley, the general manager, the GM of the Blazers, stopped the question and didn't let him to speak, because I know that someone is going to tell us, okay, Manu, it was like 30 years ago, and everybody deserve a second chance. But Iman, there is no second chance if there is not no punishment or no effects from the first time.
Exactly. You can't get a second chance if your first chance was never taken away. And, I believe in second chances. I believe in redemption and people learning and growing, but you have to atone for your mistakes. You have to apologize and you have to do the work necessary to make people believe that you've changed. Because what has he's never done anything. He's never apologized. He's never even publicly admitted that he did something. He still denies the allegations, right? So if you're never publicly atoning for anything, how should we as a public acknowledge that you're a better person than you were in 1997? And also, yeah, it was almost 30 years ago, but what about the victim? She's still dealing with the after effects. She doesn't get to move on. So it's important that we continue to talk about this so that the next time a GM in Neil O'Shea's position wants to hire someone with a record like Chauncey Billups, they think twice about it because they know that fans are not going to want it.
Aitor says, plain and simple, no one in the NBA is facing the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's often the case with the richest, most powerful people is they don't really face the consequences that the rest of us have to. And the NBA, like we said, they're people. It's no different. You can't separate them from life.
And also, it's not the same one city or another. It's not the same being at Dallas in Texas. Like they hired Jason Kidd. There were not any controversy there. Their fans are happy, but it's a different city. Portland is a more Democrat city, maybe.
Yeah, then Texas for sure.
And you have to know where you are, and also you have to lead.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree.
Aitor says same happens in Spain with the racism and sexism. Yeah, it's in actual now. Now we have Chauncey Billups in his place, Jason Kidd in his place, and there is no woman in as a head coach. Becky Hammond is tired of being interviewed. I think that only the Obradoiro here in Galicia is the only team that didn't interview Becky Hammond, but we think that it's a matter of time.
I think so. I hope so. I do think, though, for a woman to be the first head coach, I would want her to be on a team that has a really strong and solid organization. I don't think Portland would have been a good fit because there's lots of rumors about Dame. And imagine if a woman joins there and he leaves and the team starts to blow things up. It will look really bad. And the problem with having only one woman is if one woman goes to a situation and it does bad, they're going to say, well, that's it. Women can't coach. It's going to be another 50 years before another woman gets a chance. So I think putting her in a really strong and solid organization, to me, it kind of feels like if Pop ever leaves, San Antonio would probably be the first team. Like, I think that they would hire her right away. But a strong organization that has a really strong culture set is really important because if anything happens, she'll get all of the blame no matter what. So putting her in a good place is number one.
We have to make things for equality. We have to focus also in WNBA. It's something that we have to do also here in NBAdictos. We have to focus in WNBA, and we have to focus also not only in head coaches, not only in referees, also in journalists. And here we go with the Rachel Nichols controversy, because here in Spain it's like, well, this is something from the US. We don't, the media doesn't even mention it. It's like, okay, nothing from the SPN is not our thing, but I think that is huge, and listening to your podcast, I realized that is even more huge than I thought. I want you to explain us why is so important all that happened with Rachel Nichols. And remember, it didn't happen 2 weeks ago. It's something for the past year.
Yeah. Thank you for it's really important for a number of reasons. I mean, number one, representation matters, right? We all understand that representation matters, especially if you think about the context that happened, right? It happened a year ago. The whole country, America as a whole, were protesting the murder of George Floyd. So everyone is in the streets. The NBA Finals was all about that. The players, for the first time, were allowed to kneel. They all had statements on the back of their jerseys. And ESPN thought that this would be a good time to bring in more diversity to the stage. And Rachel Nichols, in a leaked tape, said that Maria Taylor was where she was at for diversity purposes, and not because of the work that Maria Taylor did. And I think that is incredibly damaging to say, because it feels the same way that we're having the conversation about Becky Hammon not getting jobs. We understand that it's harder for women to get to the spot that they want to get to, right? Because of sexism, it's harder for women to grow. It's the same thing to do with racism. Turn on your TV. If you watch women on TV, the vast majority of them are not going to look like me, right? They're going to be blonde. They're going to be white. They're not going to look like me because we're not the standard on television. So Maria did have a very difficult trek over to where she's at, and she's incredibly talented, and she's so sweet. And she worked really hard to get to where she got to. And so for Rachel Nichols to dismiss her in that moment is incredibly damaging, not just to Maria, but it's because it's something that all of us have felt. It's something that I've felt, right? It's something that talking to the other Black women in Dishes and Dimes, it's something that we all felt. And these are conversations that we know happen behind our backs. And now we finally get leaked audio that confirms that these are conversations that happens behind our backs, where no matter how hard we go or no matter how far we grow, we get dismissed. And that's not to say that ESPN wasn't looking for diversity. They were, but that's why they also bring in women, right? And so I wrote about this too, and I said, Rachel Nichols understands that as a woman, her unique identity in this field enriches her coverage. It makes it better, and that's why they want to bring her in. She talks about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She talks about the Ray Rice scandal in the NFL. I'm not sure if you follow football, but she's the one who brought that to the commissioner and really questioned him. She talks about the rape allegations when it comes to Derrick Rose, right? So she's constantly bringing up issues, feminist issues, and she understands how that makes her coverage better, how that makes her unique and sets her apart. But for Maria, she made it seem like her Blackness doesn't also improve or enrich the conversation, when it does, especially in the moment that we were all in a year ago. And she also just dismissed the fact that she was growing and got to where she got because of her race, when, let's be honest, it's not easier for Black women to get to the top. It's harder for Black women to get to the top. So to say that in that moment was just so dismissive, and it was mean. And,
It was. I think it was even harder coming from a woman, because I mean,
because you understand it as a woman. You understand what it's like to have people dismiss you, or to have people question if you got there just because you're a woman and they wanted to fill that spot. You understand what it's like to be a minority in spaces, right? Like, as a woman in ESPN, there are not a lot of women there, right? It's all white men. So she understands, and she said that in the tape. She mentioned how being around a lot of, she said, white conservative Trump supporting men has made her life harder at ESPN. So if you understand that it made your life harder, why do you think it made Maria's life easier, when on top of being a woman, she's Black as well? So
Aitor says, perspective from Spain is that the US are far from human rights, such as equality, but no woman is actually hired in any football club in Spain, for example. Yeah. And it's harder, everything being Black in the US, let's say it is as true.
that's true.
I want to say that the ESPN put Malika Andrews in the sideline in the finals, and I have to say that it's not only that they are women, it's not only that they are Black, it's they are great.
They're really good at what they do.
Maria Taylor and Malika Andrews are two of the best NBA
But
journalists right
can
now.
we say ESPN only put Malika on there once everything leaked?
Yeah.
Until it leaked, they were going to continue to have Rachel doing it for the finals. And so what does it say about a company that they didn't want to discipline Rachel? They knew about it. They didn't want to discipline her. But until the public found out and until the rest of us got mad is when they said, okay, we're going to put in Malika Andrews here, who is incredibly deserving and very talented at what she does as well.
I wonder what Doris Bjork is thinking about all of this.
I wonder.
she fought hard to get there, and but
She was about to have her job taken.
yeah. I want to know how is to be a black woman, a black journalist covering the NBA. I don't know if you have any direct contact with the Toronto Raptors, with the players or the organizations, and if that's the case, if you feel any difference, because something that I hate, I really hate, is when we saw a woman, a woman journalist is like, okay, she's cute, or not, but
Yeah,
it never happens with
with men.
journalists. I
No.
mean, I don't want to bother anyone, but have anybody see Brian Windhorst? So it doesn't have to be an issue. I don't mind how do you look. I mean, I want to get the journalist for his or her work.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, yeah, we've been very fortunate to get media credentials, so we do get to be there after Raptor games with all of the players. Because of COVID, we can only do it through video, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you're completely right. It's something that women have to go through, is really caring about the way they look. I mean, I know you guys, we don't get ESPN in Canada, so I'm sure you guys don't either. But if you ever check it out, you can turn the TV on and you see a model in between Stephen A. Smith and someone else. You know what I mean? And so for women, it you really, like, looks matter, and it's unfortunate. But I think what we've done, and something that you've done, which I think is really great, is creating your own platform.
Mhm.
So all of us just decided, we don't have to meet TV standards. We know that we're smart. We know that our work is good. We know that we're passionate, and we know that people want to listen to that.
Mhm.
So I think there's a little bit of feedback. Is it from me? Let me try.
No, I listen you perfect.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so we decided to create our own platform, and that way we don't have to follow any of the media rules. We get to just sort of set them ourselves. So if I want to look like Brian Windhorst, I'll look like Brian Windhorst. No one's gonna tell me I can't, because we create our own standards.
Mhm. I love your podcast. I love your passion. I was telling you off the record that before we aired that I'm improving my listening, because sometimes you get passionate and you speak really fast, and it's
I
like,
do.
okay, I'm improving my English if I understand Iman.
I'm sorry to everyone. I'm trying to speak slow, but I talk too quickly.
And how is the treatment with the players? Do you notice that they treat you like your partners, your mates, men journalists?
Yeah, I think we're really lucky, and I think it's times have changed. I was talking to older women who've been in the industry for longer than I have, and the stories are awful. The way that they were treated, the way that they were harassed, the way that they were dismissed was really awful. But I think we're really fortunate now, where people who are, in their 20s and 30s, like, I think we're a little bit more progressive. I think that times have changed a little bit. Now, unfortunately, I've never been in person in Vegas. Will be my first time in August. In a couple of weeks, I'll be in Vegas, so that will be an in-person experience. But through Zoom and through recording on here, everyone's been incredibly respectful and kind and courteous to us, just like they are to other women. So we've had it pretty easy. We're lucky.
Mhm. I also want to speak with you because I want to have the Canadian point of view of the NBA, because we always say that the American basketball, yes, it's American because not only the US is America. So you, the North,
We the North.
you have
Yeah.
nothing to say too. Do you see many difference in how the NBA is seen from the US and from Canada?
Yeah, for sure. One is the Raptors are very young, right? So the Raptors have only existed since 1995.
Mhm.
So they're very young, and which means the fan base is really young. So I grew up on the Raptors. I don't remember a time before the Raptors, but my parents' generation, they all do. And so they're not as diehard as us, which means TV channels and radio stations, because they're run by a lot of people who are older, they're also not, they don't care about the Raptors as much. So you're
Mhm.
going to find most of the Raptor fans are online. And that's why we have podcasts and we have websites, and all of that stuff happens really online, is because most of us are a younger generation. And
Mhm.
in Canada, at least, TVs are very slow. So they're starting to catch on now. But for the longest time, the Raptors didn't matter in Canada, or basketball didn't matter on TV, at least. They only cared about hockey. And there's a lot of hockey stuff. But I think now times are changing and the internet has made it so that we don't even need TV. We
Mhm.
can all just be on podcasts and streams and different things like that. But times are changing where it's slow. But yeah, it's moving. I have a question for you though, because you are in Spain. And what time do you wake up? Like, how does it work there? What are the hours for
I mean,
games?
we don't sleep. It's like in the finals, for example, is
Yeah.
3 a.m. at night,
Whew.
and normally in regular season is the games on East time is
Mhm.
like 12, 1:30, more or less. But
Oh my
I
God.
used to be a Lakers fan until they hired LeBron.
Oh.
Uh, Not anymore.
Yeah.
And all the Lakers games were like four and a half in the
Wow.
in the
We're
night.
we're such babies, because here on the East Coast we say if it's a West Coast game, that's 10 o'clock. That's too late for us. We don't want to watch it. And that's only 10 o'clock. That's so crazy. Wow.
Here we say that there is a hashtag from the TV platform that airs NBA like from 25 years that
Yeah.
says sleeping is for cowards. So
It's true.
I thought wants to know. He says, being from Toronto, can you tell there is a different feeling in and around the franchise after winning the ring?
Yeah, for sure. Very much. I think the last almost 10 years since Kyle Lowry and Masai Ujiri came, there's been a real growth in the fan base. So we went from just being a handful of us to now being so many. And then since winning the championship, it grew even more. I don't know if you guys remember, but during the games, there were thousands of people outside of the games.
Here in Spain,
Yeah,
the announcer of the TV channel is called Guillermo Jimenez.
yeah,
Well, I don't know how to say this in English. When people hang out in the streets drinking, I don't know
yeah,
how do you say it. Here we call it botellón. It's like
yeah.
big bottle, and whenever they put on the screen all the people around the, for me it's going to be always Air Canada Center.
Yeah, me too.
And he always says, it's el botellón.
That's so great. We don't even have a word because it's not even that common. I can't think of one either. But yeah.
how they
So
call
we grew it.
how they call that place and all the people there.
Jurassic Park. We
Okay.
called it Jurassic Park, but we don't. There's no like word for it in English. I would think, like a tailgate party maybe. But there was that outside of the Air Canada Center, and then there was them all over Canada, which was the first time that had happened, where it was all over Canada. And now Raptor fans, I think, have like doubled, tripled in size. The parade, there were 3 million people on the streets of Toronto. And like just being in a sea of that many people who, by the way, the star of the parade was Spain legend Marc Gasol. He was so great at the parade.
It was what I'm going to say, because I have a Canadian friend that told me that a lot of white men in his 40s
Yeah.
now are Raptors fans just because they saw Marc Gasol drinking on that beer on
He was exactly. I think so many people became fans just watching Marc Gasol. He was so great at the parade. It was so much fun watching him. Like everyone was really excited, but he stole the show. He was the star that day.
Aitor says Marc Gasol set up a drinking record in Canada.
I think he did. I think he did.
He's
Told
great.
our prime minister. He was right now. It was so funny because there's this one like short video where he's sitting next to our prime minister and he's talking to another player. I forget who. And he's like, "I'm so drunk right now." You just see our prime minister looking at him.
I remember Trudeau. I remember Trudeau. Like,
Yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, no, I think the fan base grew. I think there are more people, and also for diehard fans like me who'd been watching the team for 20 plus years, it was so nice to finally see them win one.
it's a well beloved team in Spain. I think that for three reasons. First of all, the Jurassic Park, the Raptors,
Yes.
a new team in the 90s. Then, obviously, Vince Carter. And that
Yes.
2000 dunk contest is like in
That makes
everyone's memory. And
yeah.
also, Jose Calderon.
I was gonna say my favorite Raptor of all time. One of my favorite Raptors of all time. Him and Larry are up there. But and we got to have him on Dishes and Dimes.
Oh.
And that was such an exciting moment. He's so nice. We asked him for half an hour and he was willing to stay longer. Like he was so gracious with his time. And he was telling us that he still owns a place in Toronto. And when Marc Gasol got traded, he told Mark, "You can stay at my place." Like and I just thought that was so great. And he was telling us this story that I thought was really funny because he's got young sons, like he's got young children, right? And so they don't remember his time in Toronto. They don't remember how big of a star he was in Toronto because he's a fan favorite. He if he goes around, like he's a fan favorite here. And at this time, I think he was playing for either the Cavaliers or the Warriors. It was towards the end of his career. He was just a bench player. And he came to Toronto for a playoff game and took his kid. And his kid knows LeBron. His kid knows Stephen Curry. He knows all these superstars, right? And he brought his kid back to, the Air Canada Centre, watch a game. And they put him on the jumbo screen. And they showed him there. And the whole crowd went crazy. And the whole crowd was cheering. And he goes, "Dad, are you the LeBron James of Toronto?" And his dad was like, "Yeah, I guess I am." So we all kind of called him the LeBron James of Toronto, and I thought that was such a perfect way to, he's a fan favorite here. I think every Raptor fan starts it, they love Jose Calderon. Him, Amir Johnson, that whole team that existed there was so great. We've had a lot of, I guess, Spanish players come through the team. Marc Gasol, Jose Calderon, Serge Ibaka played for the national team. Jorge Garbajosa, another number 15, another number 15 with the Raptors. So yeah.
And Garbajosa, he was ahead from his time. He was a open four, and
he was so ahead of it. He would be so great in today's NBA, and it's so unfortunate that he got hurt because I think that team that he was on with the Raptors, they could have been so good. And then when he got injured, I think that was it for them. But he was very ahead of his time. He would be perfect in today's NBA. Can you imagine?
Yeah, announcer, a legend that died some years ago, Andres Montes, called him multi-use, because he said he was like a Swiss knife.
Yeah, he's a Swiss Army knife for sure. He is.
We have a lot of memories of that team, but we have to remember this team. It seems that it happened 10 years ago because of COVID and all the changes in the team. But you were champions in 2019.
I know. The last real championship, if you ask me. Everything since has been fake.
Yeah. Asterisk.
Asterisks on both of them. Yeah, I can't believe it was already 2 years ago. Past that now.
Aitor asks, how you felt when Kawhi left after just one season? Well, it seemed at the day that was his plan.
Yeah, I think I think as Raptor fans, we all kind of knew that it was more likely going to happen. You can kind of convince yourself that he's going to stay just to protect your feelings, but I think it made sense. He wanted to be with his family too. His wife had just given, or his girlfriend had just given birth to a new child at the time. So you have 2 babies, and he's on the road for most of the time, and she knows nobody in Canada. And I just think it was hard for her, and he wanted to be with his family. And you can't ever fault anyone for being closer to home. And yeah, so it made sense. It sucked. It hurt, but like it made sense in the end. I understand wanting to be with your family. Also, California is nice.
We don't have any script, but it's getting well. We are going to one issue to another.
I'm sorry, I talk a lot, so it's my fault.
No, it's great. It's great. It seems like we have a script. That team almost tear apart. Kawhi left to the Clippers. Marc Gasol went to the Lakers. Also, Serge Ibaka go to the Clippers, and it's not enough said that the Toronto Raptors this year were the Tampa Raptors. It's huge because they have like 2 years of isolation.
Yeah, I mean, exactly 2 years of isolation. They were stuck in Florida, and because of how late it happened, because they were all trying to figure out, can they come to Canada? How does the quarantining work? They didn't really get a real training camp. And most of these guys were living out of hotels. They didn't find a home. They couldn't find schools for their kids. So their kids might have been back in Toronto, or their kids might have been in their hometown. So they're away from their families from the start of it because they don't have housing. They're living out of a hotel. The Raptors didn't even have a proper gym. They were playing out of a ballroom, right? So there were so many weird things that happened this season, and just not time to gel, not time to work in everything. And also replacing Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka with Aaron Baines did not work out as well. I think here's the thing is, and not to just compliment Spanish players just because I'm on this podcast, but I think watching Marc Gasol fit in so seamlessly with the Raptors mid-season, you almost think, okay, well, they're just going to bring in someone else. And you're like, no, Marc Gasol is a basketball genius who can come in, and he changed the Raptors offense. He improved it so much. They went from like a middle of the pack 3-point shooting team to the best 3-point shooting team in the league when Marc Gasol came, because of his passing, because of his playmaking. So the way that he's able to read the floor, he's also former defensive player of the year. He's a defensive specialist, right? Aaron Baines is a good player. He's not that. And he's not going to be able to fill in any of that.
There's something called basketball IQ. And Aaron Baines is like, average, and Marc Gasol is top.
Is a genius. Yeah, exactly. I think it was Zach Lowe who said that like he'd never seen a team with as high of an IQ as having Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, and Marc Gasol together. He was like, that is just that together with Nick Nurse as a head coach is why they were champions. And Marc Gasol is a genius in all honesty, and like the chemistry that Lowry and Ibaka had was not something that the chemistry that would translate over to Aaron Baines that we saw initially. Like Aaron Baines, he's a good passer, but he can't catch the ball. I don't understand the mechanics there, but he could not catch the ball. So it was a real problem trying to get to work offensively. And then defensively, you can't expect Aaron Baines to measure up to anything that Marc Gasol gave you, even in Marc Gasol's later years. So it was just such a struggle to make everything fit because they didn't have big. And then COVID obviously ruined the team, where even the coaching staff got in. And it just felt like the whole year should be thrown out and we should burn it and no one should ever. I'm so glad if I never have to remember last season ever again. It was that disastrous.
Now we have to look to the future, and
Exactly.
we have to speak about one of your idols, Kyle Lowry. What is going to happen with Kyle?
Whew, that's a really, really tough question. I think even before we figure out what's going to happen with Kyle, what's going to happen with Masai Ujiri?
Yeah.
Masai Ujiri is not signed, and I think that to me is a little bit scarier. Kyle Lowry is my favorite player, but I can understand if he wants to go get a championship ring. And I've always maintained that the Raptors should do right by him, just like the Grizzlies did right by Marc Gasol, right? You say, thank you for all of your time here. What team do you want to be on if it's a trade? Right now he's a free agent, so he gets to pick, but maybe there's a sign and trade you can work out. But I think that the Raptors should do right by Kyle, because if we are trending youngwards, you got a number 4 pick. It's going to be a nice young guy. You might be looking a little bit younger. Kyle's 35. Let him win a championship ring. I'm fine with that. My question is, what's going to happen with Masai Ujiri? I don't know, and it's terrifying because I don't know what this team is without the person who's led them for the last 8 years or 9 years.
It was said that the Washington Wizards came for Masai Ujiri hard.
Yeah. They want to give him equity, apparently. Like, that's what the stories are, which, I mean, is something that the Raptors, I think legally probably would be a little bit weird to do, just because they don't have an owner in the same way that most of these NBA teams have an owner. They have a media corporation that owns them. So how do you get shares of that? I think that that's a little bit difficult to navigate. So, I mean, it's probably going to be giving him money. I think most fans are scared of like the connections he can maybe make in Washington, the capital of America, and trying to build giants of Africa and continue to grow basketball in Africa, which is what he, clearly wants to do. So I think that's a little bit difficult. I hope the Raptors give him all of the money, just any money that Canada has, just take it all, give it to him, so that we can keep him, because it'll be really scary if the Raptors don't have him moving forward.
We have to remember that Masai Ujiri is in the middle of this Africa Basketball League that started this year, that it looks very interesting. And
he was supporting the Nigerian basketball team right now. They're playing the exhibition games before heading to Tokyo. So he's there in the biggest.
They won the US, they won Argentina. So be careful with Nigeria, because they're going to be there. And we have to talk, Imman, about Pascal Siakam.
Yes.
What happens with Siakam? Because we saw him growing. It seems for a moment in his career that he's going like to be a great thing, then next big thing. But I don't know if it's something mental. I don't know if he overperformed for some time, and we don't have to expect that level of his basketball. And I don't know if he's wanting to stay in Toronto, maybe change team.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think with Pascal, part of it is we saw how good he is as a number 2, which is really good to have in the league, right? He was a perfect complement to Kawhi Leonard, because it's really rare. I think if you look in the NBA, most of the number 2s are people who need the ball in their hands, right? Like someone like Kyrie Irving alongside LeBron James, or someone who needs the ball in their hands. And that was not Pascal Siakam. He's gonna be an elite defender for you, and he kind of plays a little bit of the help, like the free safety in on defense, which is just like, he can be a great help defender. You can kind of throw him on anywhere. If he does rotations really, really quickly, so he's great at like doubling, and he's just essentially what you need on defense. And then on offense, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. And so he's a perfect number 2. As a number 1, we saw him kind of take a leap initially, and then the bubble happened. And my theory is that he's allergic to Florida. But beyond that, he really struggled in the bubble and really struggled early on, I think, in the season. But what we did see is a little bit of growth from him, and I think he's not going to be a number one. I think he's going to struggle to be a number one option. I don't think he's going to be that. But to have a number two in the league is so rare. So whenever everyone kind of focuses on Siakam and says, well, what is he going to be? I kind of say you need number twos. It's so rare to have a number two, right? Like, there's only 5 or 10 number ones in the league. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Stephen Curry. Like, there's so few of them. You need a number two. And Pascal Siakam has shown that he can be one of the best number twos in the league because he's so versatile, right? He can do so many things, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful, which I think is really important as well. So I want to give him this year. I think last year was, like I said, there's so many things going on, and it was such a bad year. But I think a full training camp, full off season, coming in next season, I think will be really good for him. And I think we'll start to see a better idea of the type of player that he's going to be moving forward this year. I don't think we know it just yet. I think this year will give us a better idea.
And we have to know that it's okay for me a number two. We learned that with Pau Gasol here in Spain. Some people, just because he's Spanish, is like, okay, he's going to be the best in the league, and that nationalism, and is like he's the best in the league, and the Grizzlies is not enough good team for him. But we saw that he was maybe the best second guy in the league when he went to play, and it's as important.
Kobe was the second to Shaq, right? So like, it's just something that like needs to happen. And there's there's nothing bad in it. It's just some guys are number one, some guys are number twos.
And we need all of them. Jelly Paulo TV is asking about the Ben Simmons rumors. Are the Raptors interested in Ben Simmons? And most important, are you interested in the Raptors interested in Ben Simmons?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I've been seeing the rumors as well. It kind of feels like Philadelphia has their hands tied. Sometimes when I see rumors, I just sort of sit and think, who does this benefit, right?
Yeah.
Who does it benefit? And also, is this a real rumor, or do people just think that it makes sense? Because sometimes people just say, well, they're going to get rid of Kyle Lowry. They're trying to get rid of Ben Simmons. Can you make a sign and trade work? Can you throw in, like, Pascal Siakam isn't working out for the Raptors? Is there things that you can throw in there? And in all honesty, like, I think it's a conversation that maybe they're having, but I don't think it's that serious. Ben Simmons is talent. Anytime you can pull up talent, it's fine. I think he'll be better in a system outside of Joel Embiid, but he doesn't fit alongside Pascal Siakam. So I don't know about the fit with the Raptors there. So I don't think that there's any truth to it, but I do think that Philadelphia is definitely shopping him. And I think Philadelphia wants people to believe that there are lots of suitors. So the more rumors that exist benefit Philly.
I want to insist for our Spanish viewers and listeners, only trust the rumors that you read in hoopshype.com. And also, when Stephen A. Smith says, I think that's not a rumor, that's only an opinion, because
and it's probably wrong.
Because some Spanish media. Some Spanish media, when Stephen A. Smith says, okay, I think that this player and this one can be traded, it would be a great idea. Some big sports Spanish media headline is rumors of this trade. And no, it's not the same.
No, not at all.
We have to check the sources.
Yes, always. And always check who does it benefit that the story is coming out.
Yeah.
Because
I was talking some weeks ago with a journalist of The Athletic, and he was telling me that sometimes the agents of the players call him and tell, there is something going on with that team and the team, and then he calls the teams.
And they say, huh? Oh, you froze for me. Uh-oh.
Hmm?
You're back? Okay.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, very good, very
It was
good.
for a moment. I was telling you that some agents call some journalists and say there's these rumors, and then the teams, when are asked by the journalist, is like, no, there's nothing there because
Yeah.
the agents are interested.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's always going to be whenever a rumor comes out, someone leaked it. So who is the one that leaked it? Does it benefit the player? Because if it benefits the player, it's probably the agent. Does it benefit a team? Then it's probably that team that leaked it. So it's always good to just check your sources that way too, because yes, there's some people that just make up things or they say their opinion and it's not true. But then sometimes when they're real rumors, you have to think about, why is this a rumor? Could it happen, or does this just benefit Philadelphia or Ben Simmons, Raptors, or whoever?
Hmm. Aitor wants to know, what about Max Kellerman?
Same thing. same thing with both of them, both Max and Stephen A. I'm not saying
Uh,
don't believe if they have rumors, but if they're telling you how they feel about a situation,
yeah.
like you said, it's not anything to take seriously.
Mhm. The last rumor, talking about rumors, Michael Scotto says in Hope's Hype that Kings and Raptors are interested in Nerlens Noel. That we thought he was completely out of the NBA, but Thibodeau helped him to fit again in the league. I don't know if it's a good matchup for the Raptors.
Yeah, I think the Raptors want a big to come off the bench. They just sort of want a little bit more size. And I think Nerlens Noel, like you said, he kind of had his bounce back year. What Tibbs did with that entire Knicks team is phenomenal. I think all of them, like Julius Randle having his year was so much fun to watch. But I think if it's cheap and the Raptors are just trying to shore up their rotation, it kind of makes sense if they have someone like a Nerlens coming back. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That'll be
Mhm.
interesting. I don't know how the Raptors are in rumors when we don't even have a president yet. We don't know if our president is back. Who's doing the negotiating? I guess it's our GM, Bobby Webster. But without having Masai Ujiri signed on to anything, I wonder if the owners are just letting anything go.
Yeah.
What decisions do you make?
Hugo Tobio says Narrows always on my fantasy leagues, and Jelly Paulo TV says, "What about Jalen Sachs? Safe bet for Raptors as fourth pick."
Yeah, I think that's it seems like it's probably going to go Cade going first, Cade Cunningham, and then second would be Evan Mobley, and then third would be Jalen Green, which would leave Jalen Suggs fourth. I think if any of the people in the top three don't go in the top three, we'll probably get one of them. So if, Green drops to four, I think the Raptors would be great taking him. Same thing with Mobley, which it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And then Cade, I don't think there's a chance in hell that we're going to get Cade dropping to number four. But it will more than likely be Suggs, in my opinion.
Last number four in the Raptors history, it wasn't bad.
Chris Bosh. There we go. Yeah.
So we have a history there, and it was better the number four than the number one.
Then the number two.
Oh, I was thinking Margnani.
Oh, then the number one we got then. Then also I was thinking Darko Milicic. I was thinking, remember how Darko went number two in that draft? Yeah, but we could have had Wade. Number five. Yeah, no, Andrea Bargnani as number one was not great.
You just forgot him.
I try to. Every day I try to forget him.
Iman, it was a pleasure having you on our show. If you were comfortable, this is your home whenever you want. It will be great having you and also your co-host of Dishes and Dimes.
Yes,
I,
for sure.
I can't say enough that you have to listen Dishes and Dimes, not only because they know a lot of basketball, they know a lot of NBA. They give a fresh point of view and a feminist point of view that we need it. As Megan Reyes says in her T-shirt, we need diversity. We need more women on the media. We need more black people in the media. We need more Latino in the media, and we have to start supporting, pues, your podcast. Is a good start. And also when people talk about the ratings of the finals, we have to remember that this is the future. The young people are not seeing the games on TV. Maybe
Oh,
they see like in streaming,
yeah.
legal or illegal, and they listen the podcast and follow tweets and all of that. And that's one of the reasons.
Definitely, I completely agree. And like that's something that they're so slow to learn, and I don't know why they're not rushing to like understand that like people are not watching this on TV as much. We're streaming it online, legally or illegally, and so that's where the numbers are.
Mhm. Aitor says, please come back, Iman. We will behave like Margasol drunk.
I love that. Will do. I thank you. Gracias for having me here.
Thank you very
That's a
much,
little
Iman.
Spanish, I know.
Thank you very much. This is your home whenever you want.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Ahí estaba Imman Adan. Mañana lo tendréis traducido y doblado. Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar ahí. Perdón por las patadas al diccionario. Un saludo.